All right, well, my topic's a little bit different, but it has to do with Democrats just loving to shoot themselves in the foot. Like any strategy they can identify as a losing strategy, they'll go for it. They'll go for it right away. So, sometimes I just wish, I don't belong in the Democratic Party. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't belong in the Republican Party. And so we go for the closest thing when push comes to shove, which is Democrats, but they're so embarrassing. Like, I'm so embarrassed by them. And this story perfectly outlines why. So, early Friday morning, as most Americans were learning about Donald Trump's positive coronavirus test for the first time, and before Joe Biden had an opportunity to do or say a damn thing about that diagnosis, Fox and Friends was already attacking him. Watch.
It is unclear whether or not Joe Biden even knows this has happened yet, because famously out on the trail, he has said a number of times, I get up at 8 o'clock. You got to wonder whether or not his aides woke him up early to tell him the news.
Well, you have a good point, Steve. It's interesting that it is now after 6 a.m. on the East Coast, and the former vice president has not responded. No statement, no Twitter. Now, it is interesting also, I think, to presume on some level, I don't want to get in front of it, but, from what we've seen with Vice President Joe Biden at the DNC in Wilmington and everywhere else on the campaign trail, he has made the president's handling of the coronavirus his main criticism of the president, why he should replace him. So I suspect we should hear something soon.
Okay, so they had already begun the offensive attack. And that's what Republicans are really good at. They don't play defense, they play offense. And remember, Americans learned about Donald Trump's positive coronavirus test at 1 a.m. in the morning, okay, Friday morning. And so at 6 a.m., Fox and Friends is already like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Why hasn't Biden said anything yet? Has he said anything? He hasn't said anything yet. Oh, you know what? This is the heart of his campaign, attacking Trump over his handling of coronavirus. Let's see what he's going to do. It would be really wrong for him to keep playing negative ads or campaigning negatively against Trump when, oh, poor Trump, he's gotten sick. We can't do that. We must be civil. And what drives me crazy is that Democrats, because they're so fearful of right-wingers of all people attacking them, fold immediately. So it was a brilliant strategic move by Fox, because here's what Fox understands, and here's what everyone understands, to be quite honest with you. Joe Biden doesn't have an inspiring campaign. Joe Biden has uttered the words, nothing will fundamentally change. Joe Biden has only relied on how he's the good guy, Trump's the bad guy. And you want to know how I know that Fox is completely aware of this strategy and how they're going to use it against him now that Donald Trump has tested positive for COVID? Well, take a look at this exchange on Fox and Friends, same morning.
But I think that you should not forget that a lot of this is the result of an enthusiasm gap among the different voters. It's not that Biden voters don't have enthusiasm. It's just that it's mostly based around their hatred for Donald Trump, not about actual like of their candidate. Whereas for Trump voters, there really is this genuine excitement and enthusiasm and a desire to come out and show support. And so that will continue.
So she's right. There is an enthusiasm gap. And so if Biden isn't campaigning on how terrible Trump is, what does he have left? And by the way, is Biden going to fold? Is he going to fall for this offensive attack by Fox and other right-wingers? And the truth is, the answer is, yeah, it totally worked. So Jonathan Martin from New York Times reported midday on Friday, Joe Biden is taking down his negative ads, going all positive per source familiar. Great. Decision was made before White House put out word that Trump was going to Walter Reed. Now, of course, this story about Donald Trump's coronavirus diagnosis has certainly evolved. First, we heard that he was going to receive treatment in the White House. Then it appeared that his condition was worsening and he was then airlifted to Walter Reed. First, we heard that he had no symptoms, mild symptoms, no fever, low fever. Then all of a sudden we hear that he actually has a moderate fever. And then, by the way, breaking news this morning is that Donald Trump's own doctor reported that he had known about his positive COVID test for 72 hours, meaning he knew as early as Wednesday that he had tested positive for coronavirus. More on that later. But for Joe Biden to decide to now abandon the heart of what his whole campaign strategy has been really leaves a giant question mark in my mind. What is he going to do? And why would he make this decision, even if we know that the right's going to attack him no matter what, regardless of what he does? So why not use this opportunity to really lean in to what your campaign strategy was? This is the perfect opportunity to point to the fact that Donald Trump has failed to govern and lead this country appropriately during a pandemic. More than 200,000 Americans are dead as a result of that. Donald Trump is so incompetent and so much of a narcissist that he's not even able to keep himself safe from this virus or members of his own White House safe from this virus. I think that that's valuable campaign material to use, again, especially if you've decided that you're going to abandon policy, you're going to abandon the left with your campaign and focus solely on how awful Donald Trump is. And by the way, the right wing has no leg to stand on. Donald Trump tweeted in 2014 that he hoped that Obama embraced people during the Ebola pandemic, essentially saying that he hopes that Obama gets Ebola. There it is. President Obama has a personal responsibility to visit and embrace all people in the U.S. who contract Ebola. That's what he tweeted in October of 2014. They have no leg to stand on. So why are Democrats falling for this strategic, offensive attack and folding immediately? It's so pathetic. It's so weak, and I absolutely can't stand it. Donald Trump refused to encourage people to wear masks. Donald Trump, after shutting down the country for about 2 weeks, started pressuring states to reopen their economy. He wanted everything open by Easter, if you can recall. Donald Trump wanted schools to open prematurely. He did not encourage social distancing. He held several super spreader events. This is material that Biden should use against Trump. I don't care that Donald Trump contracted the virus. He's going to get the best care. I don't know what the outcome will be, but I suspect he's going to be fine. At least that's how I feel. If he's not, I guess it is what it is, as Donald Trump said during an interview with Axios. So there is a clear path for Biden to both look compassionate, but also have a winning message. The only problem is he has rejected that strategy, even though it is clearly the best strategy. He could talk about Medicare for all, especially at a time where tens of millions of Americans lost their jobs during the pandemic and also lost their employer-provided health insurance that comes along with that. But he won't do it. He could also talk about a jobs guarantee through the Green New Deal. So many people are unemployed. More and more people are getting laid off now in the airline industry, in hospitality. Disney announced 28,000 people getting laid off. So a guaranteed jobs policy through the Green New Deal seems pretty sweet. But as we learned during the first presidential debate, he ain't about that.
You support the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support
No, I don't support the Green New Deal.
Oh, you don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I support
that means you just lost the radical left.
I support the
don't.
Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay, great. Awesome. He could talk about wage increases, increasing the federal minimum wage. But instead, I suspect, because we know the Democratic Party, we've experienced how they've campaigned in the last several decades, that they are going to lean into this kind of nonsense. Saw this on Twitter this week. Jill Biden is the modern version of a gay icon that Melania Trump wishes she could be. She's a Catholic straight woman who's married. Like, what? Why is she a gay icon? That's ridiculous. Or we might get some fluffy pieces about how relatable Kamala Harris is based on her footwear.
This video of her has gone viral. As we can see, the vice presidential candidate was stepping off the plane wearing these shoes, and it's gone viral on social media. The Washington Post has praised this wardrobe choice, saying that it is by Tuesday morning, videos by the two reporters who witnessed her arrival had been viewed nearly by 8 million people on Twitter.
So, if you're about to get evicted or if you're having trouble feeding your family because of the economic destruction that Americans are feeling right now as a result of congressional lawmakers abandoning them during this pandemic, at least you know that Kamala Harris has good taste in footwear. That'll keep me full. That'll keep our kids nice and satisfied when they're starving. Awesome. And in times like this, when I'm quite honestly angry, frustrated, and feeling discouraged, I like to rely on the words of someone who inspires me and inspired one of the original hosts of the show, Michael Brooks. Here's Cornel West talking about what we need in this country, what we need to focus on, and what we need to do to avoid spectacle.
It's another way of saying that I am who I am because somebody loved me. Somebody cared for me. Somebody attended to me. And for me, that is at the core of paideia, of deep education. The formation of attention, to use the wonderful language of Simone Weil. How do we engage in attending to the things that matter? Not image, not spectacle, not money, position, title, but of courage, compassion, service to others.
I love that speech. I love pretty much everything Cornel West has to say. But I do want to leave this segment with one more video featuring Dr. West, because during the Democratic National Convention, there was, I'm going to admit, an incredibly sweet moment featuring a young boy who suffers from a stutter. As we all know, Joe Biden also suffered from a stutter. And so having someone in a leadership position who can talk to these issues means a lot to that little boy. But the way that Cornel West responded to that moment during the DNC, although it might seem harsh to some, is incredibly important, because it shifts the focus away from spectacle and toward the issues that have been harming not only Americans, but civilians, people around the world. So take a look at that.
About a few months ago, I met him in New Hampshire. He told me that we were members of the same club. We stutter. It was really amazing to hear that someone like me became vice president.
The mass incarceration regime, you had a whole lot of precious folk who went to jail who stuttered because of Biden. You got a whole lot of folks who stuttered in Iraq who were killed because of Biden's support. We have to be honest about those issues that relate to the soul of America. You can't have a soul with massive militarism. You can't have a soul with massive Wall Street greed. These are fundamental issues.
These are fundamental issues. And those are the fundamental issues that Biden could focus on. Those are the fundamental issues that are winning issues, substantive issues, that could make him appear compassionate, yes, even toward people like Donald Trump, while also providing an incredibly inspiring message that resonates with people across the board. But he's unwilling to do that because his corporate donors wouldn't want it. Stephanie Ruhle would probably have a meltdown about it on MSNBC. And I guess to Biden, that's more important than having a popular winning message that can actually defeat Donald Trump.
Yeah, but at least Kamala wears Chuck Taylors. She also wore like Timberlands, and that was like a Yas Queen moment. Yeah,
I know.
That'll solve it all. Our guest Daniel Bessner, a lot of his studies, academic studies, are on how dominant liberals were in the sort of mid 20th century, right? That like in his specific realm was in foreign policy, but this was in every aspect of American life. Like liberalism was dominant basically after the New Deal through the election of Reagan in 1980, and like even Republican presidents like Eisenhower like bought into the New Deal. So did Richard Nixon, who did all kinds of government reforms that would now be seen as kind of crazy radical left, like created the EPA and You know, like did détente with China and all that stuff, and the Soviet Union, you know, the destruction of liberalism by Reagan and others was so thorough and so complete that the path to political power for Democrats was to like try to outflank Republicans on the right. I mean, this was true of someone like Joe Biden. I mean, that's how he made his political career in the 1970s, by basically trying to just become right wing and just punch left, right? You know, like this was true of his support for his opposition to busing, his attempt to outflank Republicans on the right on criminal justice issues and things like that. What you're seeing now, I think the reason why so many people are so frustrated by our politics is because there is a sense that era of dominance, the sort of right-wing hegemonic era of dominance, is cracking. Like you see cracks in the foundation. You sense that it's weak and something can be achieved if we just kind of smash right through it. Like a new kind of hegemon can arise. Yet the Democratic Party, which is the only vehicle with which we can meaningfully smash that right-wing consensus, is still stuck in that old mindset, right? The old mindset that says, like, we basically have to be Republicans in everything, in literally everything. And that's our path to political power. Like, we have to sister soldier moment every single time. Like, a sister soldier moment is the best thing you do. Like, that was Biden. Coming out against the Green New Deal was his, like, quote unquote attempt at a sister soldier moment, right? And that's just hardwired into his brain. And that's what's so frustrating about this current moment. It's like we sense that something can be achieved, yet the people that are doing that in our name are incapable of achieving it.
Yeah, and you know, as I mentioned in that segment, there's just like this emphasis on the spectacle. There's this emphasis on identity-related stuff, but on a very superficial level. Yeah. And it's transparent that they can't even be consistent in committing to that because, I mean, they didn't even have Julian Castro speak at the Democratic National Convention. How are you guys going to pretend like you have like the moral high ground when it comes to identity-related issues when you guys snub one of your own, especially when you're campaigning against a president who started his initial run with anti-Mexican messaging, you know? But don't worry, some random publication has decided that Joe Biden's wife is an icon for the gay community.
She's queer. She's
okay.
She's
what?
Yeah. What? That was one of the strangest, most random things. Like, in what universe is Dr. Joe Biden some sort of gay icon? Like,
I don't know. It's like the most insane. It's insane. And look,
can anyone
more
be,
than anything,
like, can I be a gay icon? I want to be a gay icon. What do I have to do?
If you're a corporate Democrat and you're running for something, of course you can. I mean, that's actually all they'll probably rely on to, you know, for your platform. But luckily, that's not the kind of person you are.